Let's pass out some flowers to the Commanders, man.
Oh,
what a season that they had. What a job Dan Quinn did stepping in. And in looking at some of the new coaching hires, look no further than Dan Quinn of resetting a culture in a building. And now they had a complete reset, right? With ownership, with Peters as the GM, with Dan Quinn. But it certainly seems like they're all aligned. But Dan Quinn loves his players. He had those guys playing really hard. He had them believing. And
I like
Jayden
doing
Daniels,
really hard shit with great people. I mean, that was my favorite line of the whole weekend.
What a great line.
I mean,
what a great
I love
line.
it.
Yeah. But it's, the interesting thing about Washington now, it's always been that place, tucked away where, can they win? Can they not? This team now has a window with Jayden Daniels on his rookie deal and a ton of cap space where this is a destination. This is a place that free agents are going to want to go. They know that Jayden Daniels is a winner.
Yep.
And they know that this thing is just on its way up right now and going to get better and better. And, it's a great thing to see. It was great to see the season they had. And yes, they lost and got blown out, but I see nothing but great things for Washington in the near future.
Yeah, I think when you look at this team and you go, obviously what he brought, I look at it, you can't really judge last offseason going into this season, some of the decisions they made into what they'll do in the future because you didn't know what exactly you got. You thought you had somebody special. You don't know what you have in Dan Quinn. You know you have a special human being and a guy who's a leader of men and just an awesome man who's going to inspire people to be at their best. But you don't know all those things. And so it's a little bit of a feel out process. And so I think you can look back just a year ago to Houston Texans, CJ Stroud. What did they do the next offseason, right? They go get Daniil Hunter. They create some investments of like, hey, we are going to go aggressive to make this team better fast.
Yeah, well, Diggs.
And Diggs as well. And then you look at the Commanders this past year. It's not like they didn't have a lot of cap space this past year. But what they did do is they said, hey, I thought it was a little more the Cincinnati Bengals approach when they had Joe Burrow. If you think of the guys the Bengals added kind of during that time, DJ Reader, Trey Hendrickson, some of those like piece guys where you're like, man, all right, this isn't some name that's going to jump out there right now, but it's a really good player who's got some experience who we're going to invest in just being like kind of a part of this team and bring it all together. And that's what they did this offseason. Now going into this offseason, the entire building believes in 5, and they believe in what's capable with Jayden Daniels. You have all this cap space. Will we see a different aggression? Is it go get some big name guy to play with him? Is it going and creating maybe some trades or doing something aggressive like you've seen the Rams or other teams do? What will that aggression level be to how do we accelerate this process? Because different than the Texas model, yes, the Texans were good, and yes, they had a streak there, but like offensively, they weren't Jayden Daniels and the Washington Commanders good. This is a top 5 offense good. So what do you need to do really? And what are those pieces and what does it look like? I think it's going to be a really fun offseason to see where do the Washington Commanders go from where they are right now, the excitement that's around them, and how do they navigate the football team that takes the field next September and what it looks like while keeping Jayden Daniels the leader and the star of that football team. I think it's going to be fun. I think they're going to be one of those teams when you talk about the NFC East, one thing you can count on, the same team is not sitting there every year as the best one. So it's always turning over. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what this team looks like come next September.
Yeah, and I'm curious. We talk about investment in the offensive line all the time, and obviously watching Philadelphia, watching what the Chiefs have done from years past and really getting guys that they wanted and bringing the guys to protect Patrick, and the Detroit Lions, obviously. But that was kind of the downfall or one of the things that happened with Houston this year, that they just weren't great on the interior. Now with Washington, what I'm interested in is with the style of offense that they run, which is a lot less just straight drop back and play action. They do get it out quick. They do the RPO game. They obviously have a very elite runner at quarterback. Do they say maybe, the way that we're built, we don't need to go out and get those pieces through free agency and spend a lot of money on the offensive line. Let's do it elsewhere to help our defense and whatever else. I think that may be the strategy going forward. But I don't know, because Peters, he's a San Francisco trained guy, so we'll see.
That will be an interesting dynamic. Think about it. That offense that he's been around, nothing like the one that he's playing and that he's really being a GM for. So what you need and what's important to it are really complete different things. Like, you could make an argument that if you were going to invest anything on the offensive side for the Commanders, it's just tons of skill and talent, because the ball gets spread out everywhere. You're huddling constantly. You want a ton of like yards after catch scenarios with guys who are dynamic with the football in their hand. So I think it's interesting to see how they build that roster. And that's what I mean. They have the freedom, the confidence, and the money to do whatever they want. Now we're really going to get to see, how do they all blend together, and do they have the same vision, which is what you've seen the Chiefs, the Eagles, some of these great football teams have a vision for how they're going to build around a guy, and they do it. Will they be successful in doing that? That'll be the thing, because now it's not a surprise time. You will be known and everyone's watching. Can you make those decisions, and the right ones, with a little bit of pressure on you to be successful and make this team just a little bit better than this year? I think it'll be fun to watch.
Washington Commanders. What to expect from the 2025 draft. The national champion O-lineman pick at number 29. Hey, Washington Commanders fans! The 2024 to 2025 season has come to an end, and now it's time to start looking ahead. The 2025 NFL Draft is just around the corner, and the Commanders have a golden opportunity to further strengthen their team. Will the franchise hit it big in the first round? Let's talk about the latest projected pick for the team at number 29, and how it could impact the future of the squad. Stay tuned until the end, because there's a lot of exciting stuff to discuss. But before we dive into the analysis, if you're a true Commanders fan, make sure to subscribe to the channel now. You don't want to miss any updates about the team and what's coming up. After all, if you're a true fan, you know this journey is going to be thrilling, right? So, don't waste time. Click subscribe right now. Donovan Jackson, the new addition for the offensive line. In Bucky Brooks' 2025 draft mock, the Washington Commanders selected Donovan Jackson from Ohio State University. Jackson, an offensive lineman who can play both guard and tackle, is described by Brooks as the perfect fit for the team. His toughness and versatility mesh well with the culture that Dan Quinn is building, and Commanders fans can expect an experienced player ready to make an impact. What can fans expect from Donovan Jackson? Jackson is a true winner, and that makes all the difference. He helped Ohio State win the College Football Playoff, CFP, National Championship last season when the Buckeyes defeated Notre Dame 34-23. For a team like the Commanders, having a player who already knows what it takes to win in big moments is a huge advantage. He's described as a player with excellent mobility and strength, which could turn the Commanders' offensive line into one of the most formidable in the NFL. If he is indeed the pick at number 29, Jackson would bring something Washington desperately needs: depth and quality on the offensive line. Remember, while Jaden Daniels, the quarterback, can use his mobility to avoid sacks, Washington's offensive line is still not packed with top-tier talent that can consistently protect the QB. Jackson would be a crucial addition to improve this area. The Commanders' offensive line situation. This isn't just a wish or assumption, it's a real need for the Commanders. Sam Cosmi, one of the top players on the offensive line, is recovering from a serious injury, an ACL tear, which means Washington will likely be without him for much of the 2025 season. With that in mind, strengthening the offensive line is more urgent than ever. Jackson would be an essential piece in addressing this. And the good news is that the Commanders aren't without options in case Jackson isn't available. Other intriguing prospects that could be available for Washington in the first round include Kelvin Banks Jr. from Texas, Josh Connolly Jr. from Oregon, and Josh Simmons, Jackson's teammate at Ohio State. All of these players are projected to be first-round picks, and any of them could provide the boost Washington needs on the offensive line. Other needs for the Commanders in the draft. But of course, the offensive line isn't the only area where the Commanders need reinforcements. Wide receiver is still an important position, and the defensive line could use some help as well, particularly in the defensive backfield. So, even if Washington focuses on the offensive line in the first round, don't be surprised if other needs are addressed later on in the draft or through free agency. The Commanders have a great opportunity to strengthen the team in several areas, and the 2025 draft will be crucial in determining the team's success in the coming seasons. If they hit on their picks, we could see a much more competitive team next season, with a stronger offensive line, better weapons in the passing game, and a defense that continues to improve. What to expect from the future of the Commanders? Look, the fans are really excited about what's to come. The draft picks in 2025 could change the course for the Commanders, and the fans have every reason to be excited. With picks like Donovan Jackson or any of the other offensive line prospects, the team could finally address one of the biggest weaknesses from last season. And that, my friends, could be the first step toward long-term success. Now, I want to hear from you, Commanders fans. How do you feel about the possibility of Donovan Jackson being the number 29 pick? Do you think he'll be the piece the offensive line needs? And if the Commanders choose another position in the first round, what would you like to see? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to know your opinion about the team's future. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and share with other Commanders fans. The 2025 season is fast approaching, and we're living it all together. Let's move forward because the Washington Commanders are destined for greatness.